Good morning. Yesterday I was saying that in order to understand yourself, in order to know thyself, they all say, know thyself. They all spew out this bollocks. But yet they don't actually understand what it means to know yourself because in psychology, as I said before, they see the person as a thing in themselves. In other words, when egotistical viewpoint, like that's nearly in opposition to the Buddhists, but yet they don't understand. Like the Buddhists say the self is an illusion, but they see you only as a self, but the concept of self is off, if you know what I'm saying. In other words, in order to understand yourself, you must first, as you are a part of nature and cannot be separate from nature, in order to understand yourself fully, you must first understand nature. And like if they see and if they don't understand nature, how the fuck are they going to understand you? In other words, they don't understand you. This is the same as Orwell's 1984, in which the pigs took over the farm. Do you know what I mean? It's the blind leading the blind. The pigs took over the farm, and they're pigs for a reason. But that's why some people don't eat pork. But we'll begin. I begin explaining nature because it's in everybody's interest well, as I say, in order to understand yourself, in order to think for yourself, you must first understand yourself and understand exactly what the game is. And you start by learning the rules of the game, understanding exactly what's going on. And as I say, there's all sorts of different games, but we'll come to that sort of level. So the first thing is, it's a 2-player game, and what we want to do is want to make it a 3-player game. That's the first thing. Then we can make it a 4-player game, 5-player game, 6-player game. But the first step must be to make it a 3-player game. Not I, but we, not 2, but 3. You must make it a 3-player game. And then when you want to extend it past the 3-player game, you can make it into a multiplayer game. But 3 become 1. 3 become 1, and then it becomes a multiplayer game. But again, it's like the Fibonacci sequence. So it starts with a 3-player game, then 3 become 1, and then you play again. It becomes a 2-player game again, and again a 3-player game. Do you understand? So I'll start by saying that nature is comprised of binary opposites. Now Engel's second theory, dialectics, Engel's second rule is an interpenetration of opposites. In other words, an interpenetration of opposites. This is dialectics. And this is the same as thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So you have an interpenetration of opposites, and then they become a synthesis. And then you have a new antithesis, and antithesis, which then becomes again, as I say, another 2-player game in which there's now a new interpenetration of opposites. And this is how life works. And dialectics start with the mind, but you first must understand what dialectics is, an interpenetration of opposites. So first opposites, and then 2 become 1 to become a synthesis. And now we have a synthesis, and we have a new game. We have a new game, a different level, a new level. Do you understand what I'm saying? So first of all, before we can have an interpenetration of opposites, if you actually want to determine the nature of change, this to exercise your free will, you must be able to make an interpretation of opposites. Who's who, what's what, you must be able to have an interpretation of opposites. So some of those opposites, say, would be good and evil, light and dark, hot and cold. These are all binary opposites. They're 2 extremes of the same thing. Something's hot, something's cold, but yet it's two extremes of temperature. Hot, cold, 2 extremes of temperature. Good and evil, 2 extremes of morality, light and dark. Well, that's obvious, isn't it? But they're 2 extremes of the same thing. And then between each binary we have 50 shades of grey. We've actually more than 50 shades, but it's like a dimmer switch on the wall. But then order and chaos is another binary, order and chaos. Now, once you start understanding the binaries, then you can start to understanding how the binaries come together and how they work. And when you start going, this is a little deep for this morning, but when you start understanding this, you must understand that it's a paradoxical universe. A paradoxical universe. In other words, nothing is one thing. Nothing's one thing. Everything's a paradox. Everything's a paradox. Everything has as Epictetus said, the pot has two handles. And it's all depends like on which one you use to carry it. But the pot has two handles. And then when you start understanding these paradoxes, you realize that the universe is immersed in delusion and deception. And you don't start making judgments and acting on things how you think you are. You sit back and you watch and you watch and you watch, and then you move and you move. You know what I mean? This is how to play the game, but in order to choose the best response for every eventuality, you must be able to see exactly what am I responding to and how should I best respond. And then you choose the best response in every eventuality. You choose the response that serves you best. And what is the response that serves you best? Well, that depends on your values, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It depends on your values. Like freedom is one of my highest values. Integrity is another. But then when you reach the absolute level of freedom, the question becomes, what will I do with this freedom? What will I do with this freedom? And this becomes another paradox, because then really the best thing to do with your freedom is you can sit in the chair and you can die, or you can go and do your duty to nature. Because the reason you're sitting in the chair in the first place is to reach this level of freedom. And then when you have this level of freedom, it's a question of what you're going to do with this level of freedom. But the last thing you want to do is go back into the slave market. And then if we have a simple interpretation of these binaries, we have to start interpreting them, as I say. So, for example, like order and chaos. Now, Jordan Peterson espouses Christian values, and he would be on the side of order. He would be to that extreme. Order, order, order. Make your fucking bed, fucking dominance hierarchy. In other words, lead the sheep, lead the sheep, lead the sheep. But I'm the shepherd. He's the shepherd. He's the shepherd. But really, when you in a paradoxical universe, when you think he's leading you to your I hate to call it heaven, but that might be the best perception to use in this case. You know, the illusion of success. You know what I mean? Work harder, work harder, work harder. You know what I mean? You're going to be free, and you're going to be this, and you're going to be dominate. You're going to be able to dominate everything else and everything else. He's enslaving you. He's enslaving you. You're a sheep. You're a sheep, and he is a shepherd. But if you can't think for yourself, like this, the purpose of this, that there has to be choice. There has to be choice. There has to be choice that you can say, fuck you and fuck your rules. I'm going to think for myself. And a lot of times this you need experience for this. But even when you have this experience, you have to have the courage not to stop deluding yourself that this is the dog's bollocks, that this is a great life, that this is fucking wonderful. And this is what Socrates used to do. Socrates used to go around to all the bankers and all the fucking lawyers and all the people who had the money and ask them, what is the good life? What is the good life? Now, he used to go around and drink all day and fucking go around busting everybody's bollocks. They used to call him a gadfly, but that's what they killed him for, corrupting the youth. But he used to go around and ask them and question them, you know, what is the good life? Do you know what is the good life? Because they were living this delusion, continuing with this delusion that this is the good life, you know, working fucking 12, 14 hours a day, and then getting a fucking, going home to lie in your chair, and, well, they didn't have televisions, but basically, you know, they paint this illusion of success as the good life, you know what I mean? But really, like, well, I intend to show you a different good life. This is my aim. But then this would make me complete opposite. I would be in a complete opposite role to Peterson. Well, I'm poor as shit, and I'm advocating for chaos, but I enjoy my life, I can assure you that. I enjoy my life. And one of the reasons I enjoy my life so much is because if you want to play the game well, You have something, you must have some sort of a goal that you can direct your actions to. In other words, like, how do you completely utilize your free will and not be led by a carrot, ding, from one thing to the next thing, to uh, to the delusion of success, to wealth, to money, to sex, to all these things are used to enslave you, to take your time, to take your energy most of all, your energy. Everything is fucking energy. And this is why I say love is the greatest energy of all. It can be so creative. It can be so creative, but it can also be extremely destructive. I remember watching a Britannia series, and of all the series that I watched on Netflix, this Britannia stuck in my mind as surely one of the best. Surely one of the best. But I remember just looking at it and saying, wow, this was better than any philosophy lecture I've ever watched, this Britannia series. There was so much in this, so much in this. But in one of them things, they had one of the voodoo people. Now, yeah, but one of the voodoo people, because that's exactly what he was using, was a voodoo doll. But he was using voodoo magic, which is very much a thing if you understand life and come out of your little box. One of the voodoo people was saying that if you really want to destroy someone, you don't use weapons. You don't need a sword. You don't need a gun. Not that there are guns in that time, but you don't need a sword. You don't need fire. You need love. If you really want to destroy someone, use love. Now, in order to mitigate this, I said before that love is one of the hardest emotions of all to control. But once you learn how to control it, you must control it, and you must learn how to harness this energy and use it in a manner that's conducive to the goal. Because this is what I mean by about having a goal, that all your actions are directed towards one thing from your goal. And then it depends on your level of discipline, on your focus. Now, I know you see me drinking, smoking, everything else, but believe me when I tell you, all my actions are conducive to the goal. Every single fucking one of them. And if they weren't, I wouldn't fucking do it. But when it comes to love and comes to anger's no problem for me to control. It's very hard. It's very hard unless I choose it as the best response. That's fully under control. And I think I nearly have them all fully under control. But then again, I'm going to quote a quote. I'm going to post a quote from Epictetus now. That's going to be the next meme. And it said always associate with people that will raise you up to a higher level. Now, this would be taken by most people to mean that like if you're watching any of these business things, to say, oh, find 5 wankers and you can be the 6th wanker. You know what I mean? The more or less say, it's a little unfair to call them wankers, okay? Wankers is the wrong word. I take that back, or I retract that. Well, I don't really want to call them successful people either, but they're calling them successful people. But this is not my idea of success. These are not successful people. These are slaves. But if you're following order, do you understand? You need rules. You're a sheep. This is what makes you a pig. If you need rules, you're a pig. You're a sheep. Even if you're a pig running the farm, you're still a pig. Even if you're running the farm, you're a pig. Do you understand? If you don't have a free will, if you need security and comfort, and you need to follow rules, I have to be here. I said, I have to follow rules. Then you're not thinking for yourself. You need rules. You're a sheep. You're a pig. But anyway, so basically he was saying, hang around with the pigs. If you're a sheep, hang around with the pigs, and then you can be the 6th pig. Over time, you can be the 6th pig. But this is a poor interpretation from what he's saying in this, that you hang around with people that will raise the bar, that will raise the level. Hang around with people that will absolutely force you to practice every single one of managing your emotions. People that will attempt to piss you off. People that will try and distract you from your goals. These are the people you need to hang around with, because these will keep you as sharp as a fucking die. You need this practice. A calm sea is never made for a good sailor. This is where the Buddhists go wrong, sitting in a fucking temple away from it because they're not playing life, they're not playing the game. Well, they're playing a very different game, but it's a shit game for me. You know what I mean? You can choose your game. Choose your game. Good morning.